How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Sick Eric Tech, and today we're going to be trying out something different. We're going to be doing a camera comparison with the LG G8 versus, I guess, the Pixel 7a, since they are pretty much similar in the camera department. But we got GCam installed on the LG G8. I will post a link in the description down below to the version that I used on here. Right now you're watching front-facing footage of the Google Pixel 7a, and the version of the GCam is the MGC 8.8.224 version 7 on here, and I managed to install this on the G8 and pretty much have everything working. Like I said, this is front-facing footage of the Google Pixel 7a, so let's go ahead and go on to front-facing footage of the LG G8 using GCam, and then we'll try it out using the stock camera app on the G8. So here is front-facing footage of the LG G8 using GCam, and pretty much everything works on there. This is the Pixel 7a that we're also going to be comparing it to, and pretty much everything works. I did not install any configuration files. Everything worked right out of the box when installing this file, so keep your fingers crossed everything works. The ultra wide works, all of the normal lenses, portrait, video. The only thing that does not seem to be working on here is 4K 60 frames per second. It's only going to be 4K 30 frames per second. Front facing camera right here, of course the G8 we all know only records all the way up to full HD. So let's go ahead and go on to video footage using the stock camera app on the LG G8. That way you guys get a difference on how each one looks and how each one sounds, and then we'll jump into some pictures taken on both of these, the G8 stock camera and using GCam, and of course the Pixel 7a. And finally, here is front-facing footage using the stock camera app on the LG G8. That way you guys can see which one looks better, which one sounds better, and hopefully we'll see a difference between using the GCam and the stock camera app. I will throw some pictures in there comparing the Pixel, the stock camera app on the G8, and the GCam camera app on there as well. That way you guys can get an idea of all the pictures and which one's better, because the G8 already had really good sensors, and Google's going to be improving upon that with their processing using that GCam. So let's go ahead and see how this turns out, which one does better, GCam on the G8 or the stock camera app, and then of course can it even go up against the Pixel 7a. Let's go. Before we do get started, subscribe, like, and share, and do all other stuff. Let's jump down into it, shall we? Alright, so getting some of the specs out of the way, the Google Pixel 7a has a 64 megapixel with an aperture of f1.9 main sensor with optical image stabilization, a 13 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2, can record all the way up to 4K 60 on the rear. Front facing camera is a 13 megapixel f2.2. You can record all the way up to 4K 30 on the front facing camera. The LG has a 12 megapixel main sensor, aperture of f1.5, also has optical image stabilization, a 16 megapixel ultra wide, aperture of f1.9 with no autofocus. Front facing camera is an 8 megapixel with an aperture of f1.7, and you can record all the way up to 4K 60 on the rear and 1080p on the front facing camera. Alright, so this is rear facing footage. Google Pixel 7a recording at 4K 60 frames per second, while the LG G8 running GCam recording at 4K 30 frames per second, just because 60 frames per second does not work on GCam for the LG. If anybody's got a fix for that, comment down below. I tried everything, but you can use the ultra wide on both of them while recording. Alright, and here is the stock camera app on the LG G8, running at 4K 60. And does it handle the exposure the same? There you go, it does. So this is stock camera app. You cannot switch between the lenses. And here you go, stock camera app, LG G8, Pixel 7a. Which one did better, GCam or the stock LG? I can already see the stock a little darker than the Pixel, but still looking really good. Let's continue on with the video, shall we? Alright, so this is front-facing camera. The LG G8 is using GCam, Google Pixel 7a over here as well. As far as locking in that exposure, it does seem to be blowing out the sky a little bit. Go ahead and lock that in there. As you can see, a little dark now, but it's handling that exposure a little bit better. You do have the option to zoom in a little bit and then back out on the LG G8. Same on the Pixel 7. Zoom in and zoom back out a little bit. And yeah, how are these doing? LG G8 uses GCam versus the Google Pixel 7a. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see right here, we don't have it locked on the G8. It's blowing out the sky quite a bit. So let's go ahead and move on, shall we, to some more pictures. LG G8, Pixel 7a. So another thing I realized on the LG G8 when it comes down to GCam is that slow motion video does not seem to work. Portrait photos are hit and miss when it comes down to that rear camera. The front facing camera seems to work okay, but yeah, slow motion videos not working. Hyperlapse still works though, and yeah, I just needed to check in with you guys and just to let you guys know if there's any issues with this build of GCam and front-facing footage using GCam on the LG G8 right here. Alright, so this is the LG G8 using GCam front-facing camera,
and it is nighttime, as you can see right here, just the parking lot lights, and that's all that's lighting up this parking lot. Kind of dark, and yeah, this is GCam LG G8. Let's go ahead and go on over to the Pixel 7a, shall we? And here is the Pixel 7a front-facing camera. So you see a little bit more noise in the sky, but how does it look? How does it sound? And there's parking lot lights again. Already coming out. Which one looks better? LG G8 using GCam or the Google Pixel 7a? Alright, let's continue on with the video, shall we? Alright, last but not least, this is the LG stock camera app, LG G8. How does this look? And how does this sound? I can already notice less noise in the background using the G8 stock camera app. Could this be better than the Pixel 7a? Because it's for you guys to see.
Alright guys, so what did you think of this camera comparison? The LG G8 using GCam and some stock photos on there versus Google's latest Pixel 7a. Which one did better? Did LG stock camera app do better than the GCam? Of course, there are some functions and features that aren't quite fully working on the G8, such as slow motion, and the portrait seems to be a little off, and of course that 4K 60 frames per second, but you still can record 4K 30, and for regular picture taking you still can do all the other functions on here as well if you don't care about portrait or the slow motion. Hyperlapse seems to work okay as well on the G8 using GCam. So which one did better, the Pixel 7a or the LG G8 using stock camera and the GCam on there? I think GCam actually helps this sensor out. It's already a good phone, and these sensors are really good. Since this phone is 4 years old, it's still a very capable camera, and it still takes excellent shots. But does GCam improve upon that, or does it just make things worse? So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and that's quite alright. And I will see you next time here on Sick Eric Tech. Peace.